Steve Kaz says that they're all hoping for the $50,000 shot. But of what?
What happens if Madonna gives Carlos a huge wet kiss and says, "I love Carlos," you know? And
would you pay 50 grand for that?
Not for the kiss, but around the world, the guy who got the great picture of that could make $20,000. Because it's a lottery.
A day of waiting, and here she comes.
Excuse me! Madonna! 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 No! No! Madonna! Liz! Madonna, turn around! Liz!
Liz is Madonna's publicist. He's begging her to point Madonna in his direction, but it isn't happening.
Give us a chance!
Here's his chance. Let's time it. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it.
I got maybe a few headshots of Madonna because the angle I had to shoot, everybody was leaning. Security was in the way. They wouldn't stop the crowds of people walking around. It was just a total nightmare.
What do you think of all this? Could you believe this?
It's kind of a circus. But
Why don't you give us a goddamn picture?
Thanks for talking. You look fantastic.
The truth is, after all that, 14 hours, he got nothing that anybody bought. Nothing.
Tonight, it's a friggin' zoo. And it was just a nightmare. I should have went to the animal event because no photographers are there probably. I would have gotten a hell of a lot more cooperation.
As the basic celebrity photo gets harder to sell, it's the unusual. Everybody liked the studio shots of Liz Taylor, but Liz Taylor on a raft with her lover, Richard Burton, wow, that sold papers. The paparazzi pushed the envelope farther and farther, and editors printed them. People bought them, and the line of what was decent to print moved farther and farther. The public discovered, hey, Liz Taylor is just as fallible and human as I am, and editors discovered privacy is a pretty flexible issue. The stars learned they had to be on their guard, and they learned to use the paparazzi. They developed a sort of unwritten contract with photographers, a way to guarantee them great publicity photos. Here are the rules. The stars show up at premieres and parties dressed up, and they stop to be photographed. They stop repeatedly, and they're photographed repeatedly. And they have publicists who will get them to stop. Example, Jack Nicholson there by the door tries to sneak into his own premiere for Mars Attacks. He gets hauled out by his publicist to walk the line of paparazzi. If you don't stop, that's Matt LeBlanc walking right past, you get boos and catcalls. That's enough to bring Carly Simon back out to get snapped. Even worse than booze is boycott.
Imagine 25 photographers as a group. Sharon Stone walks in the room and not one photographer picks up a camera and takes a picture as a group. That bugged the hell out of her. Her publicist walked up to me and said, "You guys have a problem with Sharon?" Saying, "Look, we call her name out and she just acts like she can't be bothered, so we can't be bothered."
Now Sharon Stone stops graciously for the press. And what's with all that yelling? Each photographer wants to get the star looking right at their lens, so they can try politeness,
One more.
compliments,
Whoopi, I love you more than anybody. Hello! Hello!
or Jim's strategy. Stand next to someone who's screaming, "George! George!" at George Clooney.
Then I would say something like, because he's screaming at him, and when he got a little bit closer, I'd say, "Mr. Clooney! Mr. Clooney! Can I get a shot right here, please?" They hear, "Oh, Mr. Clooney, right here, for this guy right here."
The old polite Mr. Clooney approach.
So they like, and I've got a real nice shot of him and his girlfriend looking right into the camera.
But these photo opportunities have become a paparazzi nightmare as every photographer who thinks this is easy money joins the game. When 75 paparazzi have the same photos of the same stars smiling the same smile, prices plunge. But an exclusive, rare picture, that's where the money is. For instance, Alec Baldwin alone, $100. All four Baldwin brothers together, which almost never happens, $10,000. Brooke Shields alone, $100. The first photos of Brooke and Andre Agassi, $100,000. Paparazzi charge what the market will bear.
Pictures 50,000 is now 100,000. It's doubled in 2 years. And it's because the so-called conventional press has come parading into our territory. Go back through the last 10, 12 weeks of Newsweek covers. You've got Carolyn Bessette on the cover, you've got Tom Cruise on the cover, you've got Melissa Etheridge and her gay lover and the fact that they're pregnant on the cover. Traditional hard news magazines are putting celebrities on their cover because it sells.
So the paparazzi go after that exclusive photo and they worry about privacy rights on their way to the bank. Some targets are just too tempting, too lucrative to ignore. When we return, Michael Jackson's brand new baby. What would you do for more than $500,000?
Here's somebody. Here comes somebody.
Paparazzi, shooting stars. Tonight's Turning Point will continue in a moment. Turning Point. Paparazzi, shooting stars continues. Once again, Forrest Sawyer.
Have you ever wondered how the paparazzi managed to catch the stars off guard? Correspondent Robert Krowich found some photographers will go anywhere and break any rule to come up with that gotcha picture.
Nobody invited Victor Malafronte to a private party at this New York hotel, but he's going anyway.
I knew exactly where I was going. That was the Waldorf Astoria, and I had done hundreds of celebrity parties or events at the Waldorf, and I know the ins and outs, the back stairwells, the kitchens, and I
doesn't like a chef or something, people are looking at you like you belong there.
What is a chef going to do when they see a photographer walking through? I mean, they just assume, you know, they're supposed to be there. I mean, we don't stop for questions. If someone says, hey, stop, you don't stop, you just keep going.
His methods, invasive, tenacious, will get him, he thinks, better pictures, rarer pictures, pictures that will make him more money. And if he has to lie a little, he lies.
So I went right up to De Niro's table, and I said to him, Mr. De Niro, how are you? I'm the official photographer tonight. Could we get a few photos of you and Sean Penn?
He got De Niro's then-girlfriend, Toukie Smith, saying hi to Sean, and here is how it came out.
De Niro fighting mad after buddy Sean Penn makes a play for his gal pal Toukie.
Any of it true?
Absolutely not.
When you read a story like this, what do you think?
I think it's hilarious. I was laughing. I thought it was.
And Sean, you suppose he was giggling wildly? And Robert?
Well, I think that those type of people can see that it's just a farce.
Victor knows they can say provocative things about De Niro and Lauren Bacall and Mary Tyler Moore. Celebrities are public figures, and the law says a free press may be annoying and irresponsible, but that's a price we pay. Some of us more than others. But when there are so few rules, Victor can make up his own, and that, he says, is intoxicating.
Go, go, go. All right, go back.
What was your first, like, really good picture that you got in your life?
In my life, there was a set of photos that I did of a man who had just been told that his mother and father were murdered in a house. What really shocked me was then he turned and saw me, and I have shots of him pointing at me, screaming at me, you know, don't take pictures, don't take pictures. And it was awful. It was awful.
Awful plus something good.
Well, there's something, well, you're kind of in their kind of space and taking that moment, which is an awful moment, but it gets you excited and it becomes like an obsession.
Taking a moment. Stealing a private bit of someone's life. The more precious, the better.
Now, copy this. Baby, What an exclusive. For 7 days, the world's been waiting for a look at Baby Lourdes.
There's one category of picture that's consistently very valuable, very hard to get, the celebrity baby photo. Eddie Murphy's, Tom Cruise's, Michelle Pfeiffer's, Bruce Willis's, and Rosie O'Donnell's, they sell papers. When Madonna's baby Lourdes was born, this is Madonna's home, a team of German photographers rented part of a yard at a neighbor's house up there on the hill. They paid about $5,000 a day, and from sunrise to sunset for 9 days, they filmed this doorway for 9 days. Until finally, they got a tiny glimpse of the baby, and this, so far, has brought them about $150,000. Madonna told Oprah Winfrey, this is way over the line.
I accept it when I walk outside, when I go outside my gates, and I go into the world, you know, go shopping, go to premieres, whatever. I don't like it, but I accept it. But when I'm in my house and I'm being filmed, when I'm standing at the door to get the newspaper and I'm being filmed, I feel incredibly violated, because I feel like there has to be one place in the world where I have my privacy. Now,
I agree with Madonna to a certain extent. There has been a crescendo of intrusive behavior by photographers.
The National Enquirer did not publish the baby Lourdes pictures because they decided the camera crew crossed the line. But where is the privacy line? It keeps shifting. And celebrities, Steve says, they shift the line too, whenever it suits them.
The lesson of this is the hypocrisy of the situation. Go talk to Pam Anderson. You should say, oh, those nasty tabloids, they're terrible. They do terrible things to me, right? Pam Anderson has a baby. What's the first thing Pam Anderson does? She shops her baby pictures. She gets $450,000 selling her baby pictures.
Who paid her $450,000 for her baby picture?
U.S. publications, including the National Enquirer, and overseas publications.
You paid her?
That's because the Enquirer prides itself on being first with hot new babies. And this season, the hottest baby is little Michael Jackson Jr.
Huge question here. What's this baby going to look like? Big question. The whole world wants to know. You got Michael
Jackson. It's true.
Jackson.
We asked.
Michael Jackson, no.
Ребенка Майкла Джексона.
Michael Jackson's baby.
Oui, Michael Jackson, oui, bien sûr.
Michael Jackson no babyが.
If everybody in the world is buying, what is a Michael Jackson Jr. picture worth?
That picture would be over $500,000. That would be up to about $750,000.
For a prize like that, this winter, the hunters began to hunt. Alan Zanger is a Vietnam vet and former UPI photographer turned freelance. When I met him, he'd already sold shots of the pregnant Mrs. Michael Jackson, Debbie Rowe, to hard copy. He staked out her apartment for 3 weeks.
Well, if this is a public place, I can do whatever. And now she's a celebrity, so she's part of this whole mess with Michael Jackson. And wherever she goes from now on, people are going to want to see what she looks like.
He's had many run-ins with the police. The last time he was here, someone called in a SWAT team claiming that Zanger had a gun. They went through his van, found only cameras. His ambush spot today is a parking lot right next to Mrs. Jackson's apartment building.
See that door right there?
Yeah.
She comes out that door, down into that underground garage, goes into her bodyguard's car and drives away. If she comes out, and she'll come out in 10 minutes. So we're just going to sit here and wait.
Is there any way to escape these guys? They seem to pop up where you don't expect them, like on vacations. Russell Turiak goes where the stars like to play. That's him stock still on a mountainside stalking celebrity skiers. Vanna White.
Harry, how you doing?
Harry Hamlin. Justine Bateman.
Just a few and I'll go away.
Okay. Model Elle McPherson.
Oh, well, just ignore me.
No, it's no.
Well.
You can know me.
No.
Okay?
No, it's no.
He has no worries about intruding on their time off.
It's my vacation. It's not my vacation.
He spends 3 days looking for Jack Nicholson, and he finds him.
It's a two-way street. It's like I don't have to leave anybody alone. They're public people. And in fact, you know, my attitude is that when people become celebrities, they've kind of made a deal with the devil. They're in public, and I'm the devil's helper.
Back to the stakeout at Mrs. Michael Jackson's.
She's going to come out wearing a mask.
A mask?
Yeah, she comes out wearing a mask. You'll see when she comes out. She wears a mask over her face, so you can't see her.
You're driving this person crazy, clearly.
She already is crazy because she's doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm only here to watch.
You're making a pregnant woman wear a mask to go in and out of her house.
That's the way she wants to be.
So the bottom line is you're not responsible for this woman's behavior. She's responsible.
Yeah, that's why the magazines want pictures of her, because she's bizarre in her behavior. If she would come out the way normal people come out of their house, probably nobody would even care. But the more bizarre they are, the more interest there is. Don't you see?
John Barrett has perfected the art of looking ordinary. He strives to be so boring and normal and uninteresting that he can wander in and out of parties and weddings and nobody notices.
Some of the tricks of trying to get my photo tonight would be, I may go in with my big camera if I feel like I could blend in. If not, I may just go in with a little camera and see if I can get off a few shots. When you have a little camera, people don't really think that you're official.
And that's how he got these photos of Roseanne's wedding, Eddie Murphy's wedding, John Kennedy at a benefit with his then-girlfriend, Carolyn Bessette, and tonight he's trying to slip into a party at the Waldorf.
The worst they could do is say, you know, you don't belong here, you can't stay in here, can I help you? I love when they say, can I help you? I mean, their way of politely saying, get the hell out of here.
But what if you're in your own home, like Mrs. Michael Jackson?
Well, I mean, if I saw a man with a camera, I would call the police.
Sometimes they do, and you know, most of the time they don't. Most people don't care. They should mind their own business. They shouldn't care.
They mind their own business.
Yeah.
You're looking into their backyard while they get the
I know, but I'm on a public place. I'm not over their fence.
That's legal. But what about human? Human is there's some man, Mommy, there's some man hiding behind the fence with a camera, looking, and a camouflage uniform. Let's talk about normal here. You're the abnormal one. They're the normals.
It depends how you look at it. In my profession, I think I'm normal.
New York's coming in about 6 minutes at gate 41. Nashville's coming in about 8 minutes at 44.
Celebrities have to take planes. Here's Jim Smeal talking to his partner who has come to the airport every day for 6 years.
Get over here, quick. William Hurt's leaving. Get in here. Happy holidays, William. Good luck with the film.
We watched him for 3 hours while he snapped William Hurt.
Miserable. Hey, Robert.
Robert Townsend.
How you doing? Merry Christmas.
Jack Klugman.
Hey, Jack.
Keenan Ivory Wayans.
He's going to Boston in 10 minutes at 42B, so...
The key thing, be where the celebrity can't dodge you and be where no one else is or your exclusive is blown. 8 a.m. at Mrs. Jackson's. The bodyguard arrives right on time and heads up to the apartment, but he comes back out alone. No Debbie, no photo, not today.
Seems to be entering his car. He's probably leaving.
Gentlemen, we just got our first prowler call.
All right, we're not prowling.
No, but you have permission, written permission to be on this premises to do what you do.
No, but they done this to me last week. They sent the SWAT team.
Debbie Rowe, Mrs. Michael Jackson, is not a movie star. She's not in show business. She's a nurse. People related to stars often ask, why can't we get the same privacy that regular folks get?
I'm not a player. I'm a housewife in Montana. I agree that it's part of the game. For people who pick that game to live in, I picked something else.
Maggie Kern, 21, is the daughter of Margot Kidder, Lois Lane in the Superman movies. Last year, Maggie's mother had a nervous breakdown.
The first information, really, that I got came from a reporter from the National Enquirer.
Margot Kidder's daughter is going to know what's wrong with Margot Kidder and going to know the whole story. We want to talk to her.
I no longer could answer the phone. I got used to the phone just ringing all the time. I became wary of going outside.
So on the ground, in that position, you know, the reporters, we have great reporters. They're going to be doing everything they can to get that story.
They stalked me. They were stalkers. They wanted a reaction. And there were times where it was hard not to give them one. It was hard not to come at them screaming looking like a nut, and then they have a photo of me looking like a nut. I was physically being followed constantly.
Suppose Margot Kidder's daughter calls you and tells you that she can't leave her house because there's all these people badgering her.
So, and of the people badgering her,
you got
one or two of them are ours. I couldn't, you know, as a newsman in conscience, tell her I'm going to call off my people. Why would I do that?
It's like a modern-day bounty hunter where they are chasing and being paid to bring something in. Yes, it's a photo. It's not a person. But they're still doing it.
Somebody out of the front. Get out. We're going to call the police. Jose, don't touch that.
This is Debbie Rowe, Mrs. Michael Jackson, 1 month later on her last day of work.
Jose, would you call the police?
This video was taken by a paparazzo who felt free to enter the garage and move in to try to catch a glimpse of Debbie Rowe's face.
Call the police!
So here's Debbie Rowe cowering in a corner. And what can she do?
When we return, the celebrities fight back.
Turning Point, Paparazzi Shooting Stars will continue in a moment. Paparazzi Shooting Stars.
When we come back, John Kennedy Jr. takes on the paparazzi.
Why'd you use the phrase JFK goes berserk?
We could have had a headline that says very interesting pictures of JFK inside. Is that going to sell us newspapers? No.
Turning Point will continue after this from our ABC station.
Some people.
Shooting Stars continues. Once again, Forrest Sawyer.
Some of the most hotly pursued celebrities have had enough, and they're attacking the problem head on. Correspondent Robert Krulwich found John Kennedy Jr. trying to run interference for his new wife.
So I just asked any, privacy and
guys, can you back up?
room you can give her if she makes that adjustment.
Go back.
We greatly appreciate it.
John Kennedy has lived his life in the camera's eye. But in October 1996, just after his honeymoon, the press frenzy is at its peak. He hopes to make a deal. We'll stand here, pose, answer your questions, and then you go away.
Senior Little John's on the way.
Little John?
You can see how well that worked. The new Mrs. Kennedy is too tempting a target. Though the couple kept their wedding private, Carolyn is getting her first taste of what John inherited with his family name. His mother, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, had her own paparazzo, the most famous of them all, Ron Galella. He followed her at close range for 4 years till she got the courts to grant her a 25-foot zone of privacy for herself, 30 feet for the children, and later when Galella violated that space...
I faced 7 years in jail, a $120,000 fine. So rather than yield to those, I gave my rights to photograph her. I agreed to not photograph her forever. Not just her, but the 2 children.
John and his sister Caroline have gotten somewhat used to the coverage.
I mean, I think that, we're used to a certain degree of being watched, and I think that you're aware of it, even if you're not consciously aware of it. And I understand that there's interest, and certainly that interest has...
It's not interest, it's obsession, John.
Well, is that what it is?
Yeah.
It has given both of us great opportunities, so I can't complain too much. Sometimes I wish it wasn't always that way, but then you wouldn't have invited me on your show if, I was just somebody
I might have, John, you never know.
But sometimes even John Kennedy strikes back. In Hyannisport one summer, he took a bucket of water and dumped it on a paparazzi's head. Can a guy do his job? Can a guy have a life? This winter, he confronted his most persistent nemesis, a pair of photographers who took those embarrassing pictures a year ago, which they sold for $250,000. They show Kennedy and Carolyn Bessette fighting in the park. Angie Cochran and Ken Katz, you can see them behind the tinted glass of their stakeout van, have found John Kennedy so lucrative that they hound him the way Galella hounded Jackie. Just before Christmas, Kennedy told them to stop. He walked up to Angie in her stakeout van. You're watching paparazzi video here. First, John talks to her. Then he jumps on the hood of the car and reaches through the window to grab her keys. Angie rolls up the window on his arm, Carolyn tries to pull him away. And in the end, they got no privacy. They got this.
Why'd you use the phrase JFK goes berserk?
We could have had a headline that says, very interesting pictures of JFK inside. Is that going to sell us newspapers? No. You could have had a headline on your show that says, you know, Dick Morris gives a warm and candid interview. You don't do that. It's salesmanship. And on top of that, JFK did go berserk.
Is he allowed to go to dinner? Is he allowed to take a walk? Is he allowed to go visit his family?
Nick Clooney says that his son, TV movie star George Clooney, is getting much the same treatment Kennedy gets.
Who was it that made the rule that said that nobody in public life has any right to any privacy at all?
There is no such rule.
Of course there's no such rule, but there is a rule.
not being given that kind of treatment. He's just being followed around an awful lot of the time.
And his garbage gone through? And people parading back and forth in front of what they hope is his house or the driveway to his house? And screaming obscenities at the young woman with whom he goes out to dinner?
They scream obscenities
well,
at her?
Of course. Of course. That was what
For what purpose?
In order to engender a reaction from George. If they can get a Sean Penn or an Alec Baldwin reaction from George, wouldn't they take it? Of course they would, in a New York minute.
Because a shot, a photograph, or a movie of your son slugging somebody is worth 5 times more than a shot of him smiling?
Economics. Economics.
And against the power of a high-priced picture, what power does a celebrity have? Princess Diana climbed a hill in Switzerland to make what she hoped would be a private appeal to a camera crew.
As a parent, I want to protect the children because I brought the children out here for a holiday.
Right.
And we'd really appreciate the space.
I understand that.
We've had 15 cameras following us today.
Britain's big ITN network ran that private conversation and then fired the cameraman. It's not just the tabloids who run these pictures, we all do it. And how do they stop us? See what you think about this incident involving actor Alec Baldwin. The cameraman is shooting across the street from Baldwin's home. Alan Zanger wants to get a picture of the actor bringing home a newborn baby. For Baldwin, this is not a moment he wants to share. So here he's leaving his property, and he whips out a can of shaving cream covering Zanger's windows. Seems harmless, kind of clever, actually. So far, so good. But now remember, we're on a public street where everybody's allowed. When Zanger gets out of the van, Baldwin punches him, breaks his nose, blackens his eye, and then kicks him. The police arrested Baldwin, and he was tried for assault. Zanger insisted he did not provoke the fight. Here's his lawyer.
He was very apprehensive when he got out of the car, that he did not attack or attempt to attack or threaten Mr. Baldwin in any way.
But the jury's view,
Baldwin, not guilty of the offense
to the jurors, a cameraman across the street was a trespass, an invasion, and they said Baldwin had every right to react.
I felt he was threatened.
By the camera or by something Mr. Zanger said?
By the camera as a weapon, yes.
Hit it. It's not going to be pretty.
A number of celebrities and the Screen Actors Guild have lobbied to restore some legal privacy rights to public figures.
Katie?
This is singer Katie Lang.
Get a couple of shots, Katie. We promise.
Katie?
Katie, please, just a few.
Of course, in this situation, you've got to sympathize. But it is hard when Madonna allows herself to be photographed hitchhiking with only her handbag, or Demi Moore displays her pregnant self on the cover of a magazine, to grant stars the normal degree of privacy. If they decide to share intimacies with us, well, says editor Steve Cause, they invite intimate attention. That's the deal.
When Lisa Marie says, we have sex, 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 our marriage is great, 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 that we don't have the right the following week to come out and say that she lied, that the marriage is falling apart, and they're going to file for divorce. Our job is to go to reality. What's the reality of the situation? You know, we're not part of the publicity machine.
But somewhere in this contest between image and reality, this endless chase, there's got to be room for compromise, for decency. We paparazzi have a conscience, says Victor Malafronte. We just don't like to use it.
As a paparazzi, to think about what he's doing the moment he's taking pictures, you know, he's gonna put down the camera and walk away. I mean, if he has any sort of heart.
A few years ago, Victor had a crisis of sorts while chasing John Kennedy.
I was in a stakeout van at the time. He saw the van and he jumped in the van with us, jumped in and closed the door. And there we were with John F. Kennedy confronting us in our stakeout van. It was a moment that was, you know, unprecedented.
And he said?
And then he said, well, you should look into yourself. You know, you're standing outside my house. Look into yourself and what you're doing. And, you know, I think that I did. I mean, how can you not? You want to, as a photographer, you want to try to avoid those moments. Because if you have any kind of decency at all, those moments are going to get to you.
Victor felt bad for a little while, but just a little while.
But you then went out onto the street and took his picture anyway.
Yes, I did. I mean, you know, that was my job.
On the other side, celebrities often understand that paparazzi are in business, they're trying to earn a living. John Kennedy certainly knows. He now runs a magazine called George that regularly buys celebrity party photos. Every issue has them. So John is buying from some of the same guys who chase him down the street. Not only that, we discovered he signed an agreement recently with Ron Galella, the cameraman who stalked his family for years. Kennedy says from now on, Galella can take my picture at public events, social affairs, press conferences.
Why would he give you, of all people?
Because I give them publicity. A lot of them like publicity. Even John likes publicity. So why he's promoting his magazines.
Yes, very good. We're going to have to dupe one of them.
Business is business. Galella now wants Kennedy to give him a private sitting.
Very good.
He's going to give me a sitting, I believe. He's a nice guy.
If a Kennedy can make peace with a Galella, well, then maybe this battle between paparazzi and celebrities can just calm down a bit. After all, the nastiness, the spying, the prying, maybe it's going out of fashion. Niceness is in the air. Rosie O'Donnell, the queen of nice, she's now a big hit on television. The tabloid TV shows, they are losing audience. And if this continues, the paparazzi don't care about naughty or nice. They want to make money. If they get paid to sneak, they're going to sneak. If they get paid to be civil, hey, they'll be civil. Because even in a business that likes to break all the rules, there is one rule they always obey. Show them the money.
Turning Point, Paparazzi, Shooting Stars. We'll continue in a moment.
Peter Jennings. More experience, more depth, more solutions. No wonder more Americans get their news from ABC News. ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Who bagged the hottest baby picture of the year? Correspondent Robert Krowich reports it was an inside job.
February 13th, Debbie Rowe and Michael Jackson have their baby boy. The paparazzi wait all night and all day. No pictures. Some camp out at Neverland, Jackson's ranch near Santa Barbara, and wait. No baby. 3 days after the birth, Jackson performs at Elizabeth Taylor's birthday gala. The paparazzi hope he'll bring the baby as a surprise guest. He doesn't.
Baby? You know what that baby is? It's in Fort Knox.
Jackson leaves the theater and the paparazzi leap into action. Follow that van. But so far, the paparazzi have used all their wiles for nothing. Tabloids resort to computer simulations. What might the baby look like? It turns out, of course, that Jackson sold his own pictures to Steve Kaz of the National Enquirer, along with England's OK magazine. They paid a $2 million fee.
It's worth every penny, we think, and when we hit the stands, we'll find out.
I think we got it. I think that's a wrap.
Well, the Enquirer says that its investment in little Prince Michael Jackson, which is his real name, these photos moved 250,000 extra copies off the newsstand. That's a 10% jump. Not bad. And they get bragging rights to say that the Enquirer got him first.